Alrighty trainers, welcome to the Choice Specs. This is TaeganAdventures. Now, if you haven't seen my trilogy about the Sword and Shield Direct, or if you haven't seen the Sword and Shield Direct yourself, you should definitely go check out one of those. I'll be linking the Sword and Shield Direct up in the iCard at the top right corner, but anyway, this will be some other Choice Specs videos about the Sword and Shield Direct. Now that we have got ample time to take it all in and digest the info that the Direct has presented us, I'll be presenting my own speculations about some of the things mentioned in the Sword and Shield Direct, as well as some of the things I've mentioned in my trilogy talking about the Sword and Shield Direct. I know this week has been loaded with Sword and Shield videos, especially by some other PokeTubers out there who are talking about Sword and Shield. Some of you may have seen Hoops and Hip Hop, Berkey, Batobi, or maybe Lockston and Noggin's videos, but these are just some of my thoughts about the Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct, starting off with the wild area today. Now, the wild area is indeed a very open world area, like I said in my Pokemon Direct trilogy video, the first video of the trilogy. But I think there might be some improvements to be made just by the looks of it. Of course, we haven't got the full details of the wild area just yet. We only have the superficial information about the wild area that it's kind of like a safari zone of sorts. But really, I think based off the previous safari zones, there are some improvements to be made that I really hope the Pokemon Company make in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, the first thing I would like to comment on is that in the safari zone in Fire Red and Leaf Green, I believe that you are given these things called Safari Balls, and they basically function like regular Pokeballs that can only be used in the Safari Zone. They have the same catch rate as a regular Pokeball, but there is a catch. You only get a certain number of Safari Balls in the Safari Zone, just like a raid in Pokemon Go where you only get a certain number of Premier Balls. Once you're out of Safari Balls in the Safari Zone, you have to exit the Safari Zone with whatever Pokemon you have catched in that one session. So I think one area the Pokemon Company can improve on for the Sword and Shield wild area can be the fact that you are allowed to use the Pokeballs that you have stocked up in your bag. Like, let's say you want to use an Ultra Ball on, well, maybe a Wild Gyarados, for example. Now you can actually use an Ultra Ball on a Wild Gyarados. Or if you want to use some other Pokeball, let's say a Net Ball on a Surskit, for example. Yes, you can now be able to use a netball on the Surskit if the Pokemon Company ever so decides to go down that route. Another thing that the Pokemon Company can potentially improve on can be the encounter rate. Now I know in Let's Go Pikachu, the Pokemon Company made rare Pokemon like Chansey, Kangaskhan that were only available in the Safari Zone spawn as really rare spawns. Like, I think there are 1% encounter rate in their respective encounter areas. So I think the more rare Pokemon like Gyarados, like Beware, like Rhydon can spawn at low rates in the wild and in much higher rates in the wild area, so we can get more opportunities to fill in our national Pokedex. Now I know this is highly unlikely that the Pokemon Company will ever do this because it basically ruins the point of having the wild area to begin with, but I think having wild area Pokemon spawning in areas outside the wild area will be a really good idea, at least in the post-game. You might be able to see these rare wild area Pokemon popping up in the towns and cities, possibly in the rest of the routes, excluding the wild area, so I think it's a pretty exciting thing we can look forward to if the Pokemon Company ever so decides to go down that route. Personally, I'm looking forward to it, although, again, this is highly unlikely. Also, I want to mention that fishing is back in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Fishing, as some of you may know, is a fantastic way to hunt for shinies. Some fans have coined it chain fishing because it's kind of like chain encounters and fishing kind of like combined, so fans have dubbed it chain fishing. Personally, I'm not the biggest shiny hunter. I only started shiny hunting in Generation 7 in Ultra Moon, so SOS was my main method of shiny hunting, but I'm welcome to try some other shiny hunting methods like chain fishing, the Masuda method, and many more. I would also like to point out in one scene you can see the trainer riding a bike on the lake. Now this confirms two things. Number one, ride Pokemon will not be a thing in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, I know Corviknight exists as a flying taxi, bringing people all around the Galar region, but that is the HM replacement for Fly. And speaking of HMs probably will not be making a return in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is a good thing, seeing how annoying HMs were in previous generations. Gens 4 through 6, HMs were a huge thorn in the side, so I'm glad that Pokemon Sword and Shield might be getting rid of HMs, especially in Generation 7. Ride Pokemon were a thing. I don't think Ride Pokemon will be returning, but I'm glad that Pokemon is moving in the direction where it's making the game easier for us, it's making the game more enjoyable. So HMs, I believe, should not be in Generation 8. just so Pokemon can make the game even more enjoyable for us. So that's going to be a wrap here for this video. Now stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to be talking about Dynamax Pokemon and giving my own speculations about what the lore might be with the Dynamax, as well as maybe how these Dynamax Pokemon could relate to the Pokemon canon. So stick around for that video, and until next time, I will be seeing you in my next video. This has been TaeganAdventures. You have just watched the Choice Specs, and I'll be signing off right now. Peace out.